And welcome to ShrinkSync. Welcome everyone to the webinar. It's a very exciting day today because we are going to have one of my favorite therapists, Debbie Jenkins Frankel, presenting on grief and the holidays. And I just wanted to share real quick about ShrinkSync, and then I'll introduce Debbie to you guys. So ShrinkSync, in case you guys don't know or haven't used it yet, is a free app for therapists. It's a digital networking system, excellent for referral systems, especially if you're looking to refer out someone or you're wanting to build your practice. And if you guys view events posted as well. So we have a list of events specifically for therapists listed in chronological order. And if you have any events you'd like to post, please feel free to do so. And if you haven't already done so, feel free to introduce yourself in the community section. And we would love your help in spreading the word about ShrinkSync. Now let me introduce Debbie Jenkins Frankel. She is the person to go to when it comes to grief recovery. She is my go-to person anyways. And she has been training therapists for the last 20 years in becoming specialists in grief recovery. And I know that she has trained others out in Canada, throughout the States, traveled on a monthly basis doing these trainings and seminars. So I'm really looking forward to hearing her present on this very important topic today. She is also the past president of the San Fernando Valley CAMFT. That's the time when I started to get to know her, and she did an amazing job at her presidency there. And she is currently the co-chair of the Crisis Response Network for San Fernando Valley CAMFT. So please help me welcome Debbie, and I hope you enjoy our webinar today, and stay tuned till the very end. After the webinar is done, we are going to put up the evaluation for you to complete to then get your CEUs. Debbie, welcome. And here's where we all talk.
Hi. This is so weird to be able to talk to all of you but not get response. And so anyway, so here's the grief and the holidays talk. But I really didn't want to make it grief and the holidays because that just sounded kind of like, so cliche. And so the title I decided on was, why can't we just skip the holidays this year? Because that is what I hear in my office several times a week now. Started right before Halloween, and we'll go through until at least January. And in fact, usually the comment that I hear in my office is, after, why can't we just skip the holidays this year? Why can't I just go to sleep and not wake up until January 2nd? Because there is so much, there's so many triggers, and it can be so painful for grievers, because especially this is a holiday and holidays, and we're supposed to be joyful. And it's really, really hard for grievers whose hearts are broken in a million pieces to be happy and joyful at this time. So I really wanted to be able to help you, help your clients survive the next couple of months without major meltdowns in the middle of the mall. Because how many times have you seen any grievers or been a griever yourself with major meltdown in the middle of the mall? So let me see, I've got a few. I'll go over to my next step. Let me start out by saying that really we're all grievers. In October 1990, we found out my mom had liver cancer. She died 16 days later, and then Halloween came, and then the holidays came. Okay, and man, holidays can really suck. And I want you to really remember about, identifying with experiencing whatever loss that you've had in your own life. And some loss experiences are more significant for us than others. Now let me talk about a few basics about grief before we really go into the holidays, because I really give you some base of kind of where I come from. As you can see from my handout, grief sucks. It doesn't just go away with time. I have to put my glasses on because I can't really see as well as I used to. It does not go away with time. And I also want to emphasize, this is not just for grievers who are going through the first holidays. Holidays at any given time along somebody's life can be painful for a number of different reasons. It is also not exclusive to the death of a loved one. Many losses result in unresolved grief. I will tell you, Melody Beatty has a great book, a great list of losses, types of losses in her book, The Grief Club. It's an okay book. The part that I really like, it's actually towards the end of the book, is she's got pages and pages of different types of losses, of different types of losses. So please take a look at that. I really like her stuff on that. We are so not good at dealing with grief as a society. In fact, actually, we're really not good at grief throughout the entire world. I work with many people from many different cultures from all over the place, and we have a lot of isolation for grievers all over the place. A lot of different messages that grievers get that really tell them that you really need to move on and you really should be over this. And so grievers end up feeling very isolated. That isolation is actually also further aggravated during the holidays when everyone is supposed to be happy. Grievers also feel isolated often because the people around the griever, and I'm really going to emphasize this, is many well-meaning people. By the way, all of you as therapists are included in that list. I know you may not want to hear that, okay? But we try to help people not feel so uncomfortable, and so unfortunately the people around them try to fix them. I'm not accusing you of trying to fix the grievers that are coming into your office, but please be attuned to what they are hearing out there in the world, okay? And there's lots of things that grievers hear that aren't helpful. So I'm going to go over a little ad nauseum, okay? And it is, okay? It's a long list. I'm not going through, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to go through every single one of these comments, but I really want to highlight this to you because this is why grievers end up not talking about what's really going on with them, okay? So there was a list that was created, started by Michael Goshorn. I'm probably going to mess up his name. I have never met Michael. I've emailed with him, but I haven't ever spoken with him. His wife died, I believe it was in 1992. He created widownet.org in 1995. He's created some lists that he's gathered from other grievers. The name of the list that I want you to look at that I have included here is Dumb Remarks and Stupid Questions, along with a few responses that come to mind. Also known as Public Education for the Terminally Tactless. And he also has a list. He just must have recently put this on here because I go and I check his website. I've checked it probably every year for the last 12, 15 years. But he just recently has a list of getting through the holidays of people, widows and widowers who have contributed to that. So I will have all that information at the end of this seminar. Okay. So the next one, let's see. So here's a few comments. So now some of these comments are absolutely, completely insane. Again, a lot of them come from well-meaning people. You're doing such a wonderful job. Then the side comment was, oh, come on over when nobody's around. It's like when I have grievers that come in and say, well, people keep telling me that I'm so strong. And I remember somebody who was at a skilled nursing facility, I was asked to come. And, oh, wait a minute, hold on. I'm going to stop for a minute because somebody's saying they can't hear.
The others can hear though, so it's just
You
one
can hear.
person not being
Okay.
able to hear.
All right, Alice, I hope we can fix that for you. So I had somebody who came in who said, if one more person tells me that I'm so strong, she was a caregiver for her husband, actually, who had dementia. And she said, I'm going to go over and hit them with a 2x4 and show them just how strong I am or not. Okay. So there's a lot of, at least he's not suffering anymore. Why do you have to suffer at all? And I remember actually when my dad died, he was the last family member of mine to die, and I was there. And so my dad had just died. I went down the nursing station to go tell them that he had gone. And so this woman looked at me and said, you know, honey, he's in a better place. And now I have a spiritual belief that actually I agree that he's in a better place. However, at that time, that wasn't very helpful. Okay. At that time, my initial thought would have been, yeah, but he's not here and I'm not there wherever that better place is, so I don't want to hear that. And she was really wonderful. Is that I looked at her and said, you know, actually, I could just really use a hug because I was there all by myself. And it was my brother's birthday when my dad died. And actually, my brother had died many years before. And I just needed someone to just give me a hug. And this wonderful nurse looked at me like, oh, that's such a good idea. And came around the nursing station and gave me a hug. So really emphasize there's a lot of stuff that grievers are hearing that isn't very helpful. Again, I'm not going to go through all of these pages, but I include these because I really want you to get how inundated that grievers are. Okay.
Okay. Can you guys hear?
Hello.
Can you guys hear?
Oh, good.
Awesome. Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Terrific. So with pet loss, I think that there's still a whole lot of stigma, and it's actually why we ended up doing a separate group for Can I Rewind? I'd be happy to rewind. Let me see, where are we rewinding to? What was the last comments that you guys heard? It reminds me of my nephew a few years ago, who in the middle of gingerbread cookies told me to pause.
The hug. She said hug. Lisa, the hug.
Ah, thank you. Okay, thank you. And it was a good hug. It was a really good hug. But again, grievers really get an enormous amount of this information that really isn't very helpful. That basically tells them to move on. I was talking a little bit about on the second page of all of those comments. Let me see, it's page 7 that just refers to a dog was recently died after a long illness, and somebody said, grievers are inundated with comments. Thank you, Shannon. Shannon, you're so wonderful. I love you, Shannon. That there's a lot of stigma that goes together with pet loss. In fact, actually, on another day, if Anita lets me come back, I'll do a whole webinar on pet loss because that's a grief that has a lot of stigma that a lot of people don't talk about, but that is really important as well. Let me see, page 9, more comments about the grievers here, okay? And number 10, like I said, I'm not going to read all of these to you, okay? But I really, really want to make a point about how much that grievers hear. Here's on page 10, it says, I know how you feel. I know what you're going through. Be strong. Be strong. Nobody really knows what be strong means, because be strong really means like pretend like you don't feel bad. Okay. And I want to skip over page 12. This is actually from widownet.org, but I also had rearranged some of the comments at some point because Mark, my husband, for those of you who know him, Mark and I, thanks Sylvia, Mark and I had done a presentation for State Camp on geriatrics and grief, and we included some of these comments, and I kind of had gone and put them into categories of intellectual comments that grievers hear, that are reasons why they shouldn't be feeling bad, and advice. And then there's this one section on for suicide as well. Actually, the suicidology, I think it's suicidology.org, is an amazing resource. They just had a national conference in town recently, and again, another type of loss that has an enormous amount of stigma. And then page 13. These are a lot of the things that people are told to do. There's a lot of advice. Well, you really shouldn't look back, and it's been 2 weeks, and you should be over this by now. So, are you done with all of that? Okay, so there's all of our comments that I just really wanted to increase your awareness of what's not helpful. I am going to give you stuff to do for the holidays. So, I've got page, let me see, page 14, which is different than this. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to coordinate my pages here. So grievers don't forget about their loved ones, but they don't get to talk about them very often, because move on for many people ends up getting translated as I'm not allowed to talk about the person, or I can only talk about them for just so long, or I don't want to go there because it's so painful, because all these really, wonderful, amazing, fond memories turn painful. Holidays bring up the memories of who the griever would have been with on those special days. Those memories can be positive, they can be negative, they can be both. Okay, this is really important. It's the expectations of those holidays, which is what can be really quite painful for grievers. I'm also going to say a lot of times those expectations may not be realistic. Okay, they may be very unrealistic, but don't go to logic in order to try to fix them for the griever. It is often the anticipation of the holiday that can be really uncomfortable and painful. It's the anticipation of it that ups the volume and the intensity. And ignoring or pretending to ignore the day does not really work. So I'll tell you my Easter story, even though we're getting into Thanksgiving and Christmas and all kinds of holidays for the next couple of months. So after my mom died, I got remarried a couple of years later to my amazing husband now, Mark, and I married into this amazing, wonderful Jewish family. And so for Easter, the first couple of years after I was married, I wouldn't really do anything on Easter. I would just kind of ignore it and pretend like it was just another day. And that didn't really work, because about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it just would kick my butt anyway, and I'd be in a bucket of tears, and really had nothing to do with the religious aspect of the holiday. It actually had to do with the Easter basket. It had to do with my mom and I dyeing Easter eggs that whole entire week before, and actually then the Easter bunny, my dad, would be hiding all the Easter eggs, and every once in a while, every year, he'd forget where he hid them, and so we'd smell rotten eggs probably like 6 months later. So, but again, it had nothing to do with the religious piece. It was far more about about the basket. Okay, so I'm going to come back to the Easter basket story later on. Okay, but it is the anticipation, and I really, really tell my clients, please do not just pretend like it's another day. You may plan to not do anything, but then at least do it more consciously. Okay. So here is holiday triggers for potential meltdowns. Holiday lights. In fact, actually, somebody on my block, they put their lights on the day after Halloween this year. It was a little early for them. Holiday music tip, by the way. I really suggest, if you wanted a little advice, don't play Christmas music in your waiting room. In fact, I just changed the CD on in the music. I usually have the radio going on, and just the other day, I heard, it's before Thanksgiving, and I heard my first Christmas carol on whatever station I had it on out there in the waiting room. So I actually ended up inserting another CD of I think Brazilian music this time. So I really like to be able to give my clients a place to be able to go where they're not going to get inundated with that because they're completely inundated everywhere else. Sales catalogs in the mail, holiday cards in the mail. It can be bundles of turkey in the grocery store. It can be the smell of ginger and spices. It can be eggnog lattes at Starbucks. I saw somebody on Facebook the other day saying, oh my gosh, the eggnog lattes are in. Okay. It can be movies, TV, holiday references, and TV shows. It can be Santa's in the mall. It can be pumpkin anything. It can be anything that jingles. It can be the end of daylight savings time. And the reason why I note that is because I was doing a talk at a local foster home agency that has me come in and do trainings, and we were talking about holidays, and we were talking about different triggers, and what we call anticipated painful days, and so he said one of his, when we were doing this, was the end of daylight savings time, when the clocks went back and it got darker earlier, and that would trigger. He said it took him years to figure out to associate that trigger with doom, because it meant that mom got more depressed, dad drank more, and the holidays were ugly. And so there can be so many different triggers, and really I put down at the end of the list, it can be anything. Okay, it can be songs, it can be smells, really it could just be anything. Okay, but I just want you to increase your awareness of that. So significant holidays, otherwise known as anticipated painful days. Okay, I think I was supposed to say, I was trying to say painful and bad at the same time. Identify, so here's some things that you can do, okay? Identify the holidays that the griever observes. I know on our intake at the office, I ask for significant dates of anniversaries, birth dates, etc., that are important for the griever. Okay, so I already have them listed on the intake. I might sometimes mark them on a physical calendar with the griever. So it might be that we get a whole calendar out of the whole year and have them plotted out that way. Okay. I have gotten far more technology current, and now with some families, one family the other day, I had them all do a Google Calendar. And because it was pretty fun, a 15-year-old was looking at me like, a regular calendar? I was like, no, I'm like, I'm with it now. We could do a Google Calendar. Don't forget the eves. Don't forget any birthdays. The loved one's birthday who isn't there, okay, their birthday as well as the griever's birthday, okay. You might want to make sure that you have them include anniversaries. This also, it may come up that it's a sad anniversary, like the anniversary of when their loved one started chemo, okay? Or it can be, and that usually, those anniversaries tend to come up usually during sessions. That usually doesn't go on the calendar, but it ends up sometimes coming in saying, oh my gosh, I just remembered this is about the same time of year. Okay, it can be happy anniversaries. It can be dates that they're missing. Graduation. I have a family whose son died, and he would have graduated actually last June, and so they watched all of their friends celebrate their kids' graduations, and that was just absolutely excruciating. So, rituals and traditions. Let me see. Oh, you know what? Also, let me back up. Sorry. Go back to that last screen. Is take a look at, I really want to check in with what holidays are important for the griever, obviously, not for you. I know that's really obvious, but, I have a client of mine who's from Canada. And when we were talking about the Thanksgiving coming up, well, for him, it was no big deal. Thanksgiving, by the way, in October is the second Monday Thanksgiving is the second Monday in October. It's not in November at all. Hanukkah is in the middle of December this year. It actually starts on my husband's birthday, December 16th, by the way. Kwanzaa is from December 26th to the 1st. I know Armenians celebrate Christmas on January 6th. Okay, so be aware of what dates are important for them. Okay. Rituals and or traditions for each holiday. So identify how each holiday was recognized or celebrated in the past. Now, by the way, just process one holiday at a time. I tend to do this about 2 weeks prior to the holiday. I would not start talking to somebody now about Hanukkah or Christmas because we haven't even gotten through their Thanksgiving yet. Okay, I just want to do it one holiday at a time. And so I'll ask, well, you know, who was usually there? Do you remember the last Thanksgiving that you had with them? What was that like? You know, what food was prepared? Food is a really big thing very often with in holidays. Okay. I might ask, well, you know, what'd you do in the morning? What'd you do in the afternoon? What do you usually do in the evening of that holiday? I know for me, our family used to always, we were supposed to get together at 4. We never got together at 4. Nobody ever showed up till 5. But it was always, oh yeah, it's starting at 4. So, no, our tradition was we didn't get there till 5. Now, I am in a family where my mother-in-law, if she says we're starting at 4, we better be there at 4. So, that's a different tradition. What traditions does the griever want to honor? What traditions does the griever not want to honor or want to avoid? Now, I have a family recently who, and actually several families over the years, who have used the example of, well, I can't possibly think of celebrating Christmas on Christmas, but that they have decided to do Christmas Eve instead, and that feels more tolerable to be able to do. Okay. It's also the location. Oh, you know what? I'll get to location in a few screens. Okay. So I really like to process who was there. Okay. Next screen. I hope this is all making sense to you guys. Who is going to be there on the holiday? So identify with the griever who's going to be there on that holiday. Okay. Then help them make a list of who they want to be there and will accept spending time with on that holiday. Because it doesn't always mean that they actually want to be with the people on the holiday. Okay. Again, grievers tend to isolate. They like to pretend to ignore the day altogether. I really, really emphasize, please don't ignore it. At least if you're going to say, I don't want to do anything on that day, okay, do that on purpose, okay, rather than just, here, I'm just going to pretend, because nobody forgets anything ever anyway. Even if you have Alzheimer's, your long-term memory is better than your short-term memory anyway. Determine what expectations each person in the family has for that day. I know a family that, man, those expectations have changed from last week to this week. Last week, it was that one part of the family was going to spend it with extended family, and the other part was going to just go be with their girlfriend. And this week, it's no, grandma's taking them away. And so, figure out what expectations that each person has, and that's really hard, okay? Because then we're also looking at divided loyalties. Well, it was really important to mom that we make sure that everybody's together, but grievers have a really hard time in families. When families come in, I tend to meet with them initially, and then I actually break all of them up because they have a really, really hard time being able to support each other. And it's not even necessarily that they have secrets from each other. A lot of times it's because they don't want to hurt each other, and so they protect each other, and so then they're not so truthful with each other. And they can't get through resolving their grief if they're not able to be truthful. Okay, so I tend to split each person up and have them come in separately to do some grief work. Brainstorm ways that each person wants to honor the loved one. Okay? And that's going to look different for each person because they all had completely different relationships. So we'll go on to the next one. I get a little drink of water. Okay, let's talk about location. Location, location, location. So where does the griever want to honor the holiday? Are they going to be at home? Now, if at home, you may also want to talk to them about where in the home. Okay. So I am thinking of a family that traditionally they would have dinner in the dining room, and it was this big, huge, big deal, and the whole table was the mom spent a whole week just setting that table, and something that everybody really enjoyed. I know that mom can't possibly even think of setting that table. It is just way, way too painful right now. And so she and her family actually decided that they were going to have it in the kitchen instead. And that feels far more tolerable. Other people will say, no, they decided to have it in the living room, or they decided to have a barbecue outside, which you can kind of do in Southern California, but really nowhere else. So, but you know, brainstorm with them exactly where in the home. What does that mean? Okay. It might be at a relative's or a friend's home. Again, it's really important for the griever to be clear on what their expectations are for that day, okay? And are they being clear with their friends or family that they're going to be going to also, of how much that they can tolerate or not. And grievers start learning really quickly not to really be truthful with how they're feeling because their heart's broken in a million pieces. And so a lot of times they just go, oh, no, I'm fine. Let me give you another definition for fine. No, it's not that other one that all of you guys are probably thinking of. I like that one too. But and I got this from my friend Jay Westbrook, who is an amazing nurse and he does end-of-life work, and I just love Jay. Feelings inside not expressed. Isn't that wonderful? I'll say it again. Feelings inside not expressed, because that happens a lot for grievers, is that they're not telling you exactly how incredibly smushed that their heart is. Okay. It might be that the griever decides that they're going to leave town, that they're going to go away, they want a completely different location. Okay, where is that going to be? How are you going to get there? How long is it going to get? If you're going to be flying, you know, what's it going to be like in the airport? Because that can be something that they absolutely loved doing trips with their loved one who's not there anymore. Okay, well, let's see how you can handle that. Okay, what would you do? How can you ground yourself? How can you just stay a little calmer? You know, or when you notice that you're out of the moment, can you just take a moment and breathe? Maybe it's at a restaurant. Okay. There's a few families that I know that are going to various restaurants for the upcoming holiday, and so we've talked about, you know, what's that going to be like. Coping skill. So I included a griever may want to drive themselves or coordinate with a friend about agreed upon signal or time to leave the holiday event. I include this because grievers can very, very quickly become really overwhelmed. They already feel so incredibly powerless, so being able to give them ways to care for themselves can really help. Now, I know somebody somewhere is thinking or saying, but wait a minute, what about if they go out in the car and they you know, they're not a good driver and they're all upset? Well, then tell them not to drive. And also, you know, then give them, okay, look, you know what, if you feel like you're not able to and you get really overwhelmed, then you pull over and you breathe, okay, and you go through just kind of some things that they can do to be able to kind of ground themselves, okay. But a lot of times I'll say, you know, how about you give yourself like a window of time that you're going to be at the event. Do you think that you could possibly hang in for about an hour? Would that be possible? And so is that going to be in the beginning of the party? Is that going to be in the middle of the party? Is that going to be kind of maybe towards the end of the event where you just kind of slide in for the last hour or so? Do you have, do you have a way of being able to say, you know what, I can only come in for this period of time and then I got to go pick up the dog at the groomers or whatever. Okay. But a lot of times they feel very, very trapped. It is not unusual for grievers to want people to come over and come spend time with them. And as soon as they get there, what are the grievers thinking? They're thinking, oh, when are you leaving? Oh, I can't stand this. Okay, because they have a whole mass of conflicted feelings. So it's not unusual for them to have a lot of different reactions. Okay. Okie dokie. So here's one of my second to last slides. It's probably gonna suck. Okay. So let your griever know that yeah, it's gonna be really different. It's probably gonna suck, and we know that you're gonna be able to get through it. Okay. Help the griever to take a conscious action about the holiday. And really, I really emphasize, even if that is to consciously decide to not do anything, that's okay too. However, having said that, I really, really advocate for the griever to do something on that day. A lot of times people will say, well, they lit a candle. There's really amazing candles that are memorial candles that somebody can light and it goes out on its own like a day or two later. They can send a balloon up in the sky with like maybe messages on the inside. I've had people do that. They can go to the gravesite. I also have some people who say there's no way they're going to the gravesite. Okay. They can maybe take a walk in an area that the loved one liked to go. Cook or get a favorite meal of the loved one. Take care of themselves. Maybe it's go get a massage. Maybe it's go to the gym. Maybe it's go to the movies. I met this couple many years ago who they had no family left at all. And they decided that Christmas had been really very important, but was really very painful. And so they decided to just go see movies all day on Christmas. And I remember like 30 years ago, that seemed so strange to me. And now I'm like, oh, wow, that's kind of a good idea. So again, often we really try to help the griever talk about the significance of the day prior to that date, while empathetically listening and not fixing them, okay? And that'll actually help reduce the anxiety. What I've found is if people can come in and at least talk about the holidays first, a lot of times when the holiday comes, they'll come in later and say, that just wasn't half as bad as I thought it was going to be. Okay, a lot of times when I'm able to be far more conscious about a holiday before myself, then when I get to the day, okay, this isn't so bad because I've been able to kind of process it and somebody's been able to hear what I've been scared about. Let's see. Here's some other ideas, okay, which is simple rituals that honor your loved one. And again, I have burn a candle, go to the cemetery, get flowers for yourself. Make your loved one's dessert. After our mom died, my brother and I used to make, our mom used to make the best gingerbread cake ever. And so my brother and I would make gingerbread cakes for each other. Now I have to tell you, sometimes we'd remember to put in the baking soda and sometimes we'd forget and then it would be really flat. And so, but it was always kind of fun to see what we included and what we didn't. So, but that felt like it was honoring. In literature, in Greek literature, you'll have that referred to as continuing bonds, and that's a whole another lecture. I can actually talk about grief for 4 days, but you're only signed up for an hour. So, but continuing bonds really is about honoring the relationship that the griever has in their heart and their soul with their loved one. and I'm specifically referring to people who are not there anymore, who most likely have probably died. But there's again so many different types of losses. Sometimes this time of the year can be really, really difficult for couples who are going through infertility, and the possibility of going to somebody's shower, baby shower, and trying to be honest about that, of whether they're really able to do that or not. So, I really go back to, take care of yourself. Okay, make a memorial. I'll go back. A memorial wreath, dreidel, ornament that would have significance to your loved one. Play your loved one's favorite holiday music. Play your loved one's favorite music, even if it wasn't holiday music. Maybe they didn't like holiday music. Release helium balloons. You put messages into your loved one. Send a holiday card. Pick a few of your loved one's items that you want to gift to a special friend or give to an organization. I actually found somebody that had my mother's same shoe size, which was 6.5 AAA. And it happened to be actually one of her really good friends. And I was so excited because it was perfect. And I knew that she really loved my mom. So leave an empty seat at the table in memory of your loved one. Don't leave an empty seat at the table in the memory of your loved one. Maybe you invite someone to the holiday meal, whatever works better, whatever fits for them. I know of one family that they decided to have a birthday party for their 6-year-old. They decided to have the birthday party in their home, and they had a portrait of each child. And so the portrait of that child who wasn't there anymore, they put on the seat. And everyone came and brought presents. Now, I will tell you, they were really worried. Each member of the family were really worried that everybody was going to think they were crazy. And so what? They're not crazy. They're grieving, and they want to be able to honor their loved one. And so everybody brought presents that 6-year-old would have really loved. And then they actually brought it to a charity afterwards. And that felt good. Every member in the family said that felt really good. I had another family who dad had died. Actually, the anniversary is coming up very soon. And so for his birthday the following year, they decided, oh, Suzanne, I'm glad you like the ideas. I'm going to tell you where I got a lot of these ideas too, because I didn't make them all up. I really, I believe in, sharing resources. We had one family who the dad who had died, he loved going to Bob's Big Boy. And so on his birthday, the whole family went to Bob's Big Boy and ordered something on the menu that dad would have liked. And by the way, they were a great family. It was like this huge family that came in at different times. They brought in a whole box they brought boxes of Kleenex to Bob's Big Boy, because they just knew that somebody was going to have water running down the side of their face. And that was okay. And Bob's Big Boy staff were just absolutely fabulous. So it's about being able to honor that person in the way that it would have been important for the griever to honor them. So I'm so excited. We're at 11:45 and I'm almost done. So here's my next slide, because I need to tell you about the rest of the Easter basket story. So for Easter, for those first couple of years that I was married, like I said, I would kind of pretend like it was just another Sunday. And then I would be in a bucket of tears at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And, my husband would honey, is it? No, I just miss my mom. I miss the Easter basket. And so it's a year or two afterwards, it's Easter. And I, of course, I'm trying to pretend like it's just another Sunday because I was just being silly at that time. And so I'd go into the kitchen. And in fact, actually, we were in our apartment at the time. So I go in the kitchen, and up on the counter, no, on the dining room table. On the dining room table is this basket. It was a beautiful basket. It was let me see, there was a Sony Walkman in there. There were a couple of CDs in there. There were some bath salts in there. Anybody laughing hysterically yet? This all coming from my Jewish Easter Bunny husband, who has never met the Easter Bunny before. And so it was a gift basket, and I love that he honored that for me. I just love that. And so now, actually, every year, the Easter Bunny shows up. Every single year, the Easter Bunny. I go into the kitchen now, and every Easter Sunday, the Easter Bunny has struck.
Oh.
And so you will see, the Easter Bunny has now learned over the years that if the Easter Bunny just brings me peeps, peeps are my favorite, and either jelly beans are okay, but I was really quite excited about the year that the Easter Bunny actually showed up with pastel M&Ms. And then you'll see that that over here that the Easter Bunny had this like creative flow that year with the grass flowing all over the place. It was very funny. So that's my Easter Bunny story. And so my point of that, and I tell all my clients about the Easter story because I want to tell them, look, do something. I don't care if that's then I'm going to go take a walk and go away. Fine. Then purposely do something. Okay. So I really want to be able to. Thanks, Rachel.
That's
so
actually
sweet.
Molly.
Oh,
Rachel one is Molly.
Oh, Molly. Molly, thank you, Molly. So I have a whole bunch of resources for you, okay? And I put them here at the end. So there's great resourceful websites. I really like widownet.org. I love whatsyourgrief.com. This is created by two women, Litsa and Eleanor. I can't remember their last names, but they are two social workers that are out on the East Coast. I want to say Maryland, Virginia area maybe. And I've seen their website grow over the years, and I'm really impressed with them. They have blogs, they have all kinds of information on there. And they actually have some handouts on there. And in fact, they just started, I'm really very proud of them, because now they have a store where you can buy a pamphlet for grief and the holidays for your clients. And it's actually the article, if you click on the article of 64 tips for coping with grief. And so actually it looks like this. And they have really great ideas. And I have to say some of the ideas that I had there, I incorporated from them or kind of remembered, oh yeah, that's a good idea. They have a practical plan for dealing with the holidays after loss. That's a really good article also. I like that. And they also have remembering loved ones during the holidays, 19 practical suggestions. But they have a plethora of information on that website about grief theories, and they're just, I really, can you tell? I really like them. I'm going to talk to them one day. I've never talked with them before, but I just think they're wonderful. Here's another one is I found gratefulness.org candles / I have it on the handout there. This is a website where you can light a candle for anyone, which will stay lit for 48 hours. It's free, it's ad-free. They accept donations, but they're pretty good about not, being obnoxious about soliciting it. You can send, if you want to send the candle in memory of someone over to email it to somebody else, you can do that. But it's kind of a virtual candle, but I like that idea. So another website, I actually just found this last night, although I'm sure that I have probably seen it before. Masters, no, I have to put my glasses back on. Mastersincounseling.org, and then she has a section on there of loss, grief, bereavement, and she's got I think it's called 115 great resources for lots of grief-related websites. One day I'm going to get my website on there. But she has really good resources as well. There's another one that's called heritagehospice.com. Now this handout. It's called Your Holiday Bill of Rights. I'll just show you. But you can get it from that website right there. I could not. It was really hard to find it. It's actually created by somebody brought this into me. I have a lot of people that bring in stuff from when I do trainings or consultations, I'll have people come in and bring. Yes, can we get a copy of the handout?
Yeah.
Okay, great. We're working on that, Zanetta. And so I really like the Holiday Bill of Rights. You have the right and are encouraged to anticipate and plan ahead. You have the right to make your own decisions. You have the right to do something totally different. You have the right to decide not to celebrate a holiday. So it's really, I really like the way it's written. It's supposed to be from resourcesforgrief.com, but I went on her website. I cannot find it on her website. When I've Googled Grievers Holiday Bill of Rights, what comes up is another handout that's actually from a gentleman named Bill Connolly, I think it might be. He was a funeral director. He had written this, I think, like back in 92 maybe. But I've seen that. That's actually pretty easy to find. So just Google Grievers Holiday Bill of Rights, which is different than this one. But I like this one too. And then we have our website, calabasascounseling.com, which we're really trying to beef up, but I just let you know about that. I also really want to tell you about Pinterest.com and Calabasas Grief. I've been adding to this website, to the Pinterest for, I don't know even how long. I can't remember how many pins that I have. I think now I'm really excited. I think we have about 875 followers, but it's just information about all different types of grief and some things that I think are helpful. And it's totally free, and so you're more than welcome to go there. Okay, I think I've run out of words. So thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to hang for a little bit and answer questions.
So they're typing questions.
I see you're typing. Oh, good. I'm so glad. Zanetta, I actually really wanted to do this timing-wise when Anita and I were scheduling this. I was like, no, let's do it like right before Thanksgiving because there's a lot of grievers out there.
I was thanking you.
Good. Okay. Any questions at all? Good.
Someone's typing. Share the question. Zanetta.
Oh, I have seen the video of the dad. Oh, thanks, Vanessa. Oh man, that just wow. Yeah. Really? Zanetta is saying I'm an acquaintance of his. I want to reach out to him. Any pointers? I just call him and say I absolutely can't imagine what this is like for you, and anything, what can I, if you want to talk, I'd be happy to listen. But just more of, I can't imagine what this is like for you. And how close are you? It says you're an acquaintance of his.
You should enjoy the training very much.
I bet he has had a lot of those messages. Okay. You know what? I just tell him that you send him. I like to say, you know what? I send you a very big and gentle hug, and I'm around anytime if you want to talk. Same church. Oh, good. I would also say I can't imagine the courage that man had. It just absolutely floors me. Now, I like to change people's wording when they'll come in and say, well, everyone keeps telling me that I'm really strong, and I'll say, instead of strong, I actually hear that you have an enormous amount of courage to be able to be that vulnerable and open, and I would imagine that it's going to be really, really hard and really difficult to be able to even get through the holidays and know that this is really normal and natural, and that there are some resources that you can go to. Zanetta, what area are you in? I didn't see the service. Oh, Redlands. Okay. Redlands. I'm trying to think of anybody else up there that I know of, but good. Okay. Thank you ever so much. I appreciate you listening. And if you have any questions afterwards, you can always email me. Thank you.
Thank you guys for being here. We're going right when the webinar is closed, you're going to see the evaluation pop up on your computer screen. So just make sure to complete that, and we will be sending you the CU certificate. Debbie, wonderful job, amazing, such a wealth of information. So that was amazing. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time. We have Nikki Godfrey. She'll be presenting on, I'm assuming, trauma. I have to look at the title still, but we'll keep you guys posted and email that out to everybody. And that's actually Nikki right here.
Hi, Nikki.
Rachel too is Nikki.
Thank you.
So wonderful, you guys. Thank you, everyone. Wonderful. Have a great one, you guys. Take care. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.